People say they're cursed. But what if nothing supernatural is happening at all? So many of us feel trapped, caught in these endless cycles of loss, failure, conflict, or just plain suffering. We see the same problems showing up again and again in our lives, in our families, and it's easy to label it as bad luck or, even worse, a curse. But what if it is none of those things? What if these repeating patterns are actually rooted in something much more tangible? Something grounded in actions, in silence, in moments of injustice, and in truths that have been left unresolved for far too long. The idea that we're simply cursed removes our power. It suggests we're victims of some mysterious force we can't control. But what I want to explore today is a different perspective. A perspective that puts the power back in our hands. We're going to look at why these recurring outcomes are rarely random. They are the logical results of cause and effect, echoing through time until someone is ready to face them. This isn't about superstition. It's about understanding a universal law of justice and accountability. The Time for Justice course, which I'll talk more about, dives deep into this, explaining why these patterns repeat and how bringing truth to light is the only way to finally break them. So, if you're tired of feeling stuck and ready to understand the real reasons behind what is happening in your life, stick with me. Subscribe now to uncover why patterns repeat and how justice is the key that sets you free. Let's start with a simple question. If you're cursed, why does the pattern repeat so precisely? Think about it. Curses, as we imagine them, are chaotic and unpredictable. But what you're likely experiencing isn't chaos at all. It's a pattern. A very specific, repeating pattern of events. Curses don't repeat with precision, but cause and effect does. When you see the same outcome over and over, whether it's in your finances, your relationships, or your health, it's not a sign of a mystical hex. It's a signal pointing directly to an unresolved cause. Justice follows patterns. Chaos does not. A system of universal justice is built on the principle that actions have consequences. When an injustice occurs, whether it's a betrayal, a lie, or an act of harm, and it's never addressed, the effect of that action doesn't just vanish. It remains, creating an imbalance. This imbalance will continue to manifest in predictable ways, creating the very cycles that make you feel cursed. The repeated loss, the constant conflict, the feeling of instability. These are all symptoms of unfinished accountability. The universe is not punishing you. It's simply reflecting an equation that hasn't been solved yet. Patterns don't mean you're cursed. They mean something was never properly addressed. So what is the truth about these so-called curses that no one ever tells you? The truth is, what people call a curse is often justice delayed. The word curse is a convenient way to avoid a much harder reality. It is a label we use to hide from responsibility and to sidestep the difficult work of facing the truth. Calling it a curse feels so much easier than admitting that a past action, either our own, or one we tolerated, or one that happened long before us, is now creating consequences in our present. Injustice, whether it's done by us or to us, creates ripples. When we ignore it, cover it up, or pretend it didn't happen, we're not erasing it. We're just burying it, allowing its energy to fester underground, and eventually, that energy will surface. It will show up as the repeating patterns we misinterpret as a curse. The Time for Justice course reframes this entirely. It's not about being cursed. It's about understanding moral consequences. It's about recognizing that our lives are governed by a moral law of cause and effect, just as the physical world is governed by the law of gravity. When you drop a ball, it falls. When an injustice is left unresolved, its consequences will eventually appear. Calling it a curse feels easier, but it's just a way of avoiding the truth. Now, this gets even more complex when we realize that the pattern might not have even started with us. This is where we need to talk about what happens when actions follow bloodlines. So let me ask you this. What if what you're recording right now didn't start with you? This is a huge concept, but it's essential to understanding generational patterns. Consequences don't just disappear when a person passes away. If a significant truth was buried, if a major injustice was never made right, the echo of that event can and does pass down through families. Think about it. A family secret, a theft that was never admitted, an act of abuse that was silenced, a business built on corruption. These things don't just go away. The unresolved energy of that injustice gets woven into the fabric of the family line. Future generations might find themselves struggling with issues that seem to have no logical origin. They might experience unexplained financial loss, a deep-seated mistrust in relationships, or a constant sense of impending doom. This isn't a supernatural punishment. It's simply unresolved balance. You may be living the echo of a truth that a past generation refused to face. You're not being punished for their actions. You are experiencing the ongoing effect of an imbalance that is still seeking resolution. This leads us to a critical point. Ignoring justice only makes things worse. We often think that if we just avoid a problem, it will eventually fade away. But with issues of justice and accountability, the opposite is true. The longer justice is avoided, the heavier and more intense the outcome becomes. Think of it like a debt. If you ignore a small debt, it doesn't just vanish. It accumulates interest. Over time, that small, manageable debt can grow into a crushing financial burden. The same principle applies to moral and ethical debts. Avoidance and denial compound the consequences. Every time we choose to look the other way, every time we refuse to speak the truth, we are adding more energy to the initial problem. This is why you see patterns escalate over time. What might have started as a minor conflict can grow into a full-blown family feud. A small lie can spiral into a web of deceit that destroys trust for generations. Denial creates escalation, not relief. The Time for Justice course explains exactly why this happens. Truth is a restorative force. It cleanses and but silence and avoidance act like gasoline on a fire. They intensify the loss and prolong the suffering. What you refuse to face doesn't disappear, it grows. So, if you can't ignore it, and it's not a supernatural hex, what do? How does a curse actually end? This is the most important part. Curses don't break, justice resolves. You don't need a magic spell or a special ritual. What you need is a process of truth and accountability. Real, lasting change only comes when we align ourselves with the principles of justice. This is the entire foundation of the Time for Justice course, which lays out a clear path forward. First, you have to identify the root cause. This means looking past the symptoms, the repeating patterns, and digging deep to find the original injustice. What was the action that set this all in motion? Second, you have to restore the truth. This can be the hardest step. It means bringing what was hidden into the light. It means speaking what was left unsaid and acknowledging what was denied. Finally, by doing this, you end the repeating outcomes. When the truth is restored and accountability is taken, the moral equation is finally balanced. The energy that was fueling the cycle is neutralized. Justice is not about punishment. It is about correction. It's about fixing what was broken and restoring harmony. It is about setting things right so that the future doesn't have to carry the burdens of the past. When justice finally enters the picture, the cycles end. The pattern is broken, not by magic, but by courage, truth, and a commitment to doing what is right. What we've talked about today is a complete shift in perspective. From seeing yourself as a cursed victim to recognizing yourself as a powerful agent of justice and truth. These repeating cycles aren't a sign of your doom. They're an invitation to heal, to restore balance, and to finally close a chapter that was left open for far too long. If this resonates with you, if you're ready to stop feeling cursed and start understanding the real dynamics at play, then subscribe for weekly insights on justice, accountability, and breaking these repeating cycles. The Time for Justice course is designed to guide you through this entire process. It explains in detail why these patterns repeat and how justice restores balance, without any superstition, fear, or blame. It gives you the tools to identify the root causes and the framework to move forward with clarity and purpose. Now, I want to hear from you. Comment below. Do you believe people are cursed? Or are they stuck in an unresolved truth? Let's continue this conversation. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.